There is no doubt that 2020 has been a truly unique year for everyone. That certainly applies, of course, in the world of motorsports, but there are silver linings. One is the return in the same season to the home of the United States Grand Prix. Welcome, everybody, to Circuit of the Americas for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, Round 10 of the championship. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine down in the pits and on the pre-grid. And Cal, you'd expect the home of the USGP to present a lot of excitement and challenges. This place doesn't disappoint.
It really does. It's just an incredible facility, Greg, with a super challenging layout. It's just shy of 3.5 miles with 20 turns. We'll break it down into 3 very unique sectors here today. It's a fun ride.
It is indeed. You take a look at that number 20 Wright Motorsports Porsche. Well, earlier in the weekend, a guest driver this weekend took it out, and he's going to give you that fun ride in person. Enjoy.
My name is Jan Helen. I'm here at Cota with Wright Motorsports in the Porsche GT3R, getting ready to start a lap. Coming onto the front straightaway now, approaching the start-finish line. 5th gear, reaching 150 mile an hour. Hard in the brakes at the 100 sign. Big brake zone, lots of opportunity to overtake. Down the hill into turn 2, 130 mile an hour. Really fun corner, really feeling the downforce here of these GT3 cars. And then into the famous S's here at Cota. Hard on the brakes, rolling a lot of speed. 4th gear, down to 3rd. Hard on the curbing, back to power. Setting up for turn 7, 3rd gear, just a little lift, back to power. Turn 8, down to 2nd gear, and then up the hill, turn 9. Lots of curbing on the inside and on the outside. Going down the hill, setting up for turn 11. Again, one of the better places to overtake. Very wide on the entry. Down the 1st gear, and then working on a good exit to get onto the back straightaway. Fastest, longest straightaway on the track here at Cota, reaching 160 mile an hour in 6th gear. Again, good opportunity to overtake. Going into turn 12, braking at the 120 sign. Down the 1st gear again, using up all the curbing on the exit. From 1st up to 3rd, down to 1st gear again. Hard on the brakes. Very slow section of the track here. Up to 3rd again, approaching the slowest corner of the track, the hairpin here, turn 15, and then setting up for the carousel. Double right-hander, lots of power on the way in, just a small lift and then back to power, 100 mile an hour at the center. Lining up for turn 19, lots of curbing there on the exit, lots of track limits being called. Make sure we keep 2 wheels on the curbing, and then down the 1st gear for turn 20, last corner coming onto the front straightaway. And that was a lap at Cota.
And that was a look at this great circuit. Now let's take a look at some highlights from the 9th round of the championship that unfolded yesterday. And at the start, all the drivers' eyes were on the green flag, but our eyes were on that black Mercedes that David Askew.
Yeah, he tries to nip it down the inside. There's a big squeeze at apex. He gets into the white Acura. He then gets into the Fred Portan machine. He turns around. Jason Bell has nowhere to go.
Meanwhile, up front, a great 3-car battle began for the overall lead, including a superb battle for the top 2 in silver.
A big opportunity here for the Squadron Corsa team because the championship leaders are not competing here this weekend.
And they were to hang on and go for it, and Martin Fuentes really throwing down some amazing laps as he was able to build that advantage. Never by much, but he kept it in front all the way to the stops. A little bit later on, bit of a moment here for Gandour in that Acura, but what happened with David Askew, what a run he got here.
Big launch off of turn 1, dives down to the inside and takes that position nicely.
Well, he got the spot, but it was soon to turn a little bit awkward for him. Gets on it a little bit too early, it snaps one way, then goes around the other way.
Quick spin is a problematic day for David.
He gathered it up and continued. Meanwhile, James Safronis grabs the overall win in the race within the race for the GT Sports Club competitors. After the pit stops, Rodrigo Baptista crawled behind the wheel, built that margin up, and Ferrari won overall and in Pro-Am here at Circuit of the Americas for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, in the 9th round of the championship. The field is set. They are ready to go, and we are looking forward to this 10th round, getting set to head out on Circuit of the Americas to get underway here in an absolutely glorious afternoon. Taking a look at that DXDT, a Mercedes from that David Askew will be running with Ryan Dial. And you take a look here, Alec Udell started the car yesterday, Russell Ward finished. They reversed that today. The opening, certainly the opening 45, 50 minutes of this one with all the pros on board in the Pro-Am cars, this should be a fascinating duel.
Yeah, they really gave the champs-elect in the silver class a run for their money. That's been the 93 Acura of Shelby Blackstock and Trent Hinman. So great to see a couple of cars running there. You get the thumbs up from Russell Ward. He'll be starting the race, but young Alec Udell, great to see him back, this time in GT3 competition.
Great look at the back end of this car, the newest Evo of the Mercedes-AMG GT3 car. And when they made the step and got this car, which is a built from the ground up version of that Evo, he said you could tell there were little differences from the Evo kit that was on it. They like it.
Yeah, they were frustrated by the pace of the championship leading team, the sister car, the 04 CrowdStrike entry, that just seemed to have a little bit more pace than them. So David Askew said, listen, we can't afford to waste any more time. Let's get a new chassis. They debuted that at Road America in the previous rounds of the championship. To immediate effect, they're very racy and pacey there.
Yeah, Ryan Dial, in fact, scoring an overall pole. Now, the whole field might be a little bit frustrated with the pace that this Hublot Ferrari has been putting up. Swept pole for both of the rounds, and Baptista's lap in particular was amazingly fast.
Yeah, he clicked one together, which you can do here as a 20-corner racetrack, and if you just have the car balanced just where it needs to be, it can really result in an enormous lap time gain, and he put it together here yesterday in qualifying.
Jan Halen in that car, you see just next to it that the taillights just came on. That's that Wright Motorsports Porsche that he shares with Fred Pourdad. A couple of interesting stories there. One was Halen's pace in the two practice sessions that made everybody think, well, they've got a shot for pole. Didn't quite get there, had a good run. But the fact that the other driver in that car is absent this weekend, but for pretty good reason.
Yeah, he competed over at Le Mans this weekend and got to the end of 24 hours. A great run for young Max Roux, and competed with none other than a four-time Le Mans winner, Jan Magnussen. They finished sixth in the GTE AM class, so congratulations to him on a tremendous day.
And there is a look at that Racer's Edge Acura Accelerated Services. Beautiful NSX GT3 has been just such a strong competitor, not just in silver, but has a lot of overall wins and a good qualifying run for them in that first race. Surprising to see them back and forth, though, starting lineup for this one.
Yeah, I think the pace of the Ferrari is a little bit too strong for the Acura here this weekend. So they had done some tweaks overnight, and unfortunately the 93 car lost some early practice time this weekend with a technical issue, something with the steering column that prevented them from getting on track, and they've been playing catch-up a little bit since.
And the field making their way out to start their formation laps here at Circuit of the Americas. The Acura NSX, the official safety vehicle of SRO Motorsports America, has led the field out of the pre-grid and onto the track for their formation laps here. And you can see this is the iconic S's at this track. You talked about it, the different sectors, but there's also a big story in GT World Challenge globally, and it's that World Challenge Manufacturers Council. And you've got three different manufacturers that are taking part in it. Mercedes is one of the three, Lamborghini also part of the program, and Ferrari as well. And they are represented again, whether it's GT World Challenge America, Europe, or Asia, they're all contributing. And at this point in the season, Mercedes is looking good, but I'll tell you what, that number one Ferrari added to that Ferrari tally.
They did, and they're hoping to do the same here today. They've been very strong, and you certainly expect that tally to go up on the right-hand side before the end of the day.
All right, and as we are underway under the formation lap, let's check in with the third member of our broadcast team, Ryan Marine.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Cal. Pleasure to be joined here by Alec Udell. Welcome back to the championship. Yesterday, a pretty good day, I said, at least. I thought you did a really great job. You said, yeah, it was all right. With the benefit of hindsight, how do you feel about how it went yesterday and your prospects for today?
Yeah, I think yesterday was great. It's obviously great to be out here with the Windward team. I think we had a nice result. You know, there's still a little bit that I wanted to get out of the car. It's very difficult in these GT3 cars to get a move made, especially with being so aero dependent. So for me, I always want to be coming in, you know, first in my stint. So I think, yeah, we were fighting really hard with Shelby and Martine, just like trading lap times every lap after lap. So in that sense, it was awesome. I think, you know, it's nice to be out in this GT3 car. This is my first race in the Mercedes. It's a great car. I think very, very different than what I've been used to. So I'm learning a little bit more each session, which has been nice, and that's why I think for me it was okay. You know, I think I got quite a bit out of the car, but I think there's still a little bit left. So we made some adjustments for today, and happy with the Windward team and looking forward to the race today.
Well, he's proven to be a quick study. Keep an eye on that Windward Racing Mercedes today.
He has indeed. Not a lot of laps in that car coming into this weekend, but last year he became the first American to win a championship in GT4 European competition. And the field snaking around here. This is the exit of that really wonderful turn 16, 17, 18, really just a triple apex long arcing right-hander. It's an absolutely great track. We obviously have to address here this field, the numbers, not what we would like to see, but in this category in GT3 international racing, such a huge international involvement, and with travel restrictions and the like, that's made it difficult for not just drivers but teams to be able to travel and get here. But the teams that have done that have been absolutely top tier, produced some remarkable racing this year, and the cooperation between the series itself, the promoters such as Circuit of the Americas, and these teams to follow all of the protocols that are allowing us to be here has been superb.
It really has, and this weekend at Circuit of the Americas, we're actually in the paddock in our TV compound. We're in our own little bubble, but you can see that everyone is following those protocols, which is so important to keep everyone safe during these troubling times. But I think everyone's embracing it. I mean, it's been a monster season. Yes, we expected to see a few more entries coming back, but I think this is really setting us up for a perfect 2021 championship. So many brands represented, and it should be a fun one here this afternoon.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, this is the penultimate round of the championship, and in 2 weeks we go to Indianapolis. That's where the season finale will be, in partnership with the Intercontinental GT Challenge, the Indy 8 Hours. That's very exciting news. IndyCar will be actually joining the venue as well, so some great stuff.
There is, and then we've got the Spa 24-hour race to look forward to as well coming up, so lots to still chew on before this season is over.
Absolutely, and once again, there will be a race within a race for the first 40 minutes here of this 10th round of the GT World Challenge America powered by AWS Championship, and that will be the 8th round of GT Sports Club America in its debut season. And the interesting thing there, Cal, is we're looking at some of the cars that are going to be running for the first 40 minutes in that category. We were here with GT World Challenge America in March. GT Sports Club wasn't, so this is brand new territory for them.
Yeah, and this is really a great racetrack for that, just setting up the stage. The GT3 cars are still quicker. They've got more technology involved, incorporated in the machines, a lot more downforce, so they're really impressive in the brake zones and through the multiple corners that you have here. But down these long stretches, like this burst out of turn 11 all the way to down to turn 12, the GT2 cars are about 15 miles an hour quicker, so look for the overlap there, certainly in the early going when they're packed together.
Well, we saw yesterday Sofronis in the GT3 older version of the GT3 Audi. He was able to mix it up with some of the current GT3 machinery, and they have put in some great runs. And then those GT2 cars, as you talked about, the power they have is just remarkable, and they put on a great show, and we're glad to have them running with us here at Circuit of the Americas in their debut at this remarkable racetrack. Lights are out on the Acura NSX. Once again, it's the official safety vehicle of the GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Here's a look at that starting lineup with Baptiste on pole, then Halen alongside Dial, and then Hinman. And it's a good mix up front, isn't it? You got Ferrari, Mercedes, and Porsche, and all really quick.
Yeah, and I think for Baptiste, he's shown tremendous pace here this week, and I think his biggest concern is going to be this start. Alongside he has Jan Halen. He has nothing to lose. He's going to go all out here to try and certainly lead this race in the early going. He's only 2/10 off the fastest time that Baptiste has set in qualifying. His teammate got turned around, as we saw in the highlights early yesterday, so they are on the back foot, but he still displayed tremendous pace. And Jan Halen is one of the feistiest, most aggressive drivers you're going to find there, sitting in that blue and white Porsche.
Oh yeah, his elbows are already up and out, believe me, folks, as the Acura NSX makes its way into pit lane. Again, 90 minutes of competition, mandatory pit stop, driver change, refueling, new tires, and lots can happen in that pit window as well. We're about ready to get this 10th round underway. Now, the finish line and the timing line is that white stripe they're just about to come to, but the start line for the original start is the white line underneath that gantry, so watch the starter in that enclosed box. You'll know when it goes green as soon as we do, and it is green. And a big look there down to the inside by Cal Marcelli on Dial. and a big move around the outside too by Hinman.
Yeah, and Halen goes for the lead. He pushes it deep inside. He gets inside the Ferrari and takes it there side by side, coming off of turn 1.
Now, he said he wasn't going to go quietly and get those elbows out early. He wants to lead. He's going to do it here. And already has a bit of a margin, Cal.
He really did. He's really got that car to come alive early. Look at the two Acuras, big moves on that initial start. Hinman sitting there in the 3rd spot in the red and white machine, followed by Kyle Marcelli, who came off the 2019 championship.
And Marcelli, nice to see that number 80 MBRP Performance exhaust car back. Normal co-driver with Marcelli. Martin Barkey not able to make the trip due to travel issues and restrictions with Canada. But Ziad Gondor, who has had a couple of races in this championship, has come in and is having the time of his life in that amazing machine as well. And right now, he gets an opportunity to follow Trent Hinman. And remember that battle at VIR between Hinman and Marcelli? It could be revisited right here.
It was a special one, Greg, and Marcelli came out on top that day. So let's see what they happen between the two teammates. Disappointing start there for Ryan Dial in the 63 DXDT machine. Sits there in the 5th position currently in the black Mercedes.
And he has had some absolutely stunning qualifying runs, but there have been times here when something just doesn't quite click on the starts, and then he has to really start to hustle here and make his way up through the pack. And we talked about it before, but important to note, the team car, the 04 AWS CrowdStrike entry of Kurtz and Brown, not here. George Kurtz, family emergency, they had to take off. But obviously Ryan and David Askew are going to fly the colors for DXDT, which is fine.
Yeah, and George reached out this morning, said he really appreciated all the feedback he got from the paddock when the news was out there that everyone's in support of him this weekend. Shame to see the championship leader's not here, but family comes first.
Absolutely. So we are completing our first lap here. And out of that last turn, Jan Halen up to the front, and that margin already almost 1.2 seconds in one lap, Cal.
Yeah, I expected him to be aggressive, and boy, did he really go for it on relatively cold tires. They do have the tire warmers these days, so it gives you a little bit of temperature before you do that formation lap, but not much to work with. But he's aggressive. He has nothing to lose, Greg. They're not in the overall championship chase, so making a guest appearance here, and he wants to make a statement.
And interestingly, in so doing, this is in a way a debut for them in the Pro-Am class, and they've acquitted themselves pretty well already. Had it not been for that problem with poor Dad getting caught up in that incident in yesterday's race, he too was showing some pretty solid speed to be a player in the Pro-Am podium chase.
Fred Pordat has been amazing. I think he's been one of the really nice surprises of this year. Teamed up with young Max Root. He's certainly very impressive as well. He's over in Le Mans today, just finishing up, and got to the finish flag in 6th position in class. So it was a nice result for him in getting that experience.
Let's go back now that it's settled a little bit. Take a look at the start. There's the green flag, and indeed, watch Halen. It looked like he is all settled there, Cal. And then at the last moment.
Yeah, he surprises him. Just really surprised Baptista there, and is able to keep it together and just clear him as they exit turn 1.
Baptista slotted into 2nd. Hinman actually getting a little bit of a run there. But Baptista covered it, and feisty Marcelli as well behind. He would like to get back in front of Hinman. He relished that battle that they had here. Things settling in just a little bit. Then Dial sits in the 5th spot, and then Ward sits in 6th overall, of course 2nd in silver. This is that stadium section. As you talked about it there. The S's, then that long straight, then that stadium session, and then this triple apex right-hander falls away. And I think Halen was saying they're up over 100 miles an hour at the midpoint of that corner.
Yeah, minimum speed there through turn 17 is over 100 miles an hour. Beautiful rhythm to this circuit through those final few corners. But look at DL pushing hard there, exceeding the track limits a little bit on the exit of turn 19. The stewards have basically said red and white is all right. You need some part of a Pirelli P0 touching that red and white curbing. If you're a repeat offender, you may get a drive-through penalty.
And if you do it on the very rare occasion and you gain no advantage, they understand. Sometimes you run a little bit wide and they'll give that to you. But if you make a habit of it, they start to get a bit more concerned. Looking back now into the GT Sports Club category, and Jason Daskalos and the Daskalos Motorsports. That is one of the Audis, again, one of the older gen versions of the Audi GT3 machine. And he was pretty spectacular at Sonoma, and he's right back at it again today.
Yeah, he swept both rounds there, as did Mark Issa, what he did at Road America. So he also got some GT3 experience earlier this season. here at Cota, so Mark knows the track well, really loves his racing. Saw him when I was picking up a rental car the other night. He is really pumped to be back at Circuit of the Americas. And he's giving chase here. This is going to be a tasty little battle here this afternoon.
I think so, and it was interesting to watch him because he had a testing accident a couple of months ago at Road Atlanta, and was coming back, and Road America was his first event. And just watching him very smartly baby step it, but quicker and quicker and quicker. Ended up with both poles, ended up with a second in the first race, and then went and won it overall. This guy has just been dominant in the GT2 overall category, Ryan Gates.
He has. He's unbeaten, 7 wins, and the man who chases him right now has finished right behind him 7 times. So you know that Jason Bell will love to turn things around. Big weekend for Jason Bell for GMG. They had a Sprint X GT4 victory, he and Andrew Davis yesterday, and he followed that up with a podium in sprint competition as well. Here you see him tackling turn 15, and this is a totally different animal to the GT4 car that he races. He's got 700 horsepower underneath his right foot here.
It's a couple hundred more than that GT4 car, but it doesn't have quite the arrow in the stick, and he has to make that adjustment and does so very well. I think it's important to note that GT4 Sprint X win that he and Andrew had overall, and Jason had to hang on in the early going, keep that car right in position, and Andrew did what Andrew does, of course, and Jason responded with a brilliant drive.
He did, and this class will be checkered flag at 40 minutes in, and then at the 45 to 55 minute mark, we'll see the pit window open for all of the GT3 competitors, where they have to do a mandatory stop, driver change. 4 new fresh Pirelli P0s will go on board, and the minimum time on pit lane has to be at least over 77 seconds with a 1 second joker to play with.
And here's something for you. That margin, first to second, Halen over Baptista, 1.3 seconds, but on that last lap, Baptista just set fast lap of the race at a 2:06.333, and they just came through the timing line now, and it's a 2:06.7. But Halen responded, didn't he? It turned to 2:06.4, get that margin back up to over a second.
Yeah, they've really got this Porsche dialed in. Jan Halen, a really good fit with his team. He's been associated with them now for like 7 or 8 years. One of his best mates is Pat Long. He won a championship in World Challenge competition with this same outfit back in 2017. Jan Halen drove for the team in a different championship at Road Atlanta last weekend, finishing on the podium in a 6-hour event.
And Jan and Pat and Scott Hargrove, who also was a champion in Pirelli World Challenge competition, coming off a podium a couple of weeks ago in an endurance run at Road Atlanta. So that Wright Motorsports team is clicking. Today's coverage is brought to you in partnership with Acura, with Bentley, with Ferrari. Looking at this battle a little bit further back in the pack is Dial, and again, he really does run that nice and deep down in turn 19. Hasn't really been able to gain much of an advantage from it, but certainly is staying glued now to the back of Marcelli. And I don't know whether that's part of the reason that Hinman has been able to ease away just a little bit, or maybe Hinman right now just has that little bit of an edge of pace in that red Acura Accelerated Services NSX.
Seemed to be that way, and Alec Udell alluded to how hard it is to follow in these GT3 cars. They create a lot of downforce, and you really need the air to get to that front end. So I think when Ryan gets really close to Marcelli as they come through that high-speed sector there to finish off sector 3, through the triple right-hander, and then diving into turn 19, that left-hand corner, probably washing out a bit on the front end, and that's why he's exceeding that track limit a little bit.
Margin up front. Halen now resets fast lap that time through at a 2:06.2. That margin up to about a 1.5 seconds right now. Then Baptista, and then Hinman right here, and then you can see just how close that is back to Marcelli and to Dial. And it looks to me that Dial might just have the quicker car right now relative to the one that Marcelli is driving.
Yeah, and this chasing pack of Hinman, Marcelli, and Dial, looking at their lap times, they're suddenly shot down into the 2:06 range. So the top two look like they're out of reach as Halen has set a new fast lap at 2:06.2 on that previous tour. But everyone now, the top runners, down in the 206 bracket. So maybe these cars will come alive a little bit and be a bit stronger towards the end of their stint. And we expect these pros to stay in pretty tight to the 55-minute mark, which is the maximum time allowable before that first pit stop.
And some of that can come down to just what their starting pressures were, etc. As well. Look at this. Issa has run down Jason Daskalos. And so this is going to be a really stout battle. This is the GT3 and GT3 overall class that they are running here in GT Sports Club America. And Daskalos in that vintage 423 Guzman construction entry and the Nobu Hotels TR3 Racing Ferrari are really starting to put on a great scrap here.
Yeah, Issa was 0.8 of a second quicker than Daskalos on that last lap, but now Jason has really got the hammer down. Look how much of the racetrack he's using through there. Has the ability to really widen the exit of turn 18 and still get back across the racetrack to set up for 19. That's a nice job there. The car's working really well and changing direction.
That's what you have to do at this track fairly often is there are sections of this track where you really have to be able to arc out the exit, arc back across the track in a hurry, and have that platform be able to change directions and be able to get to the throttle pretty quickly here. And this is going to be a fun battle to watch between these two Sports Club GT3 contenders. Watching as the beautiful afternoon here and watching for the appearance of our leader. He pops into view. That's the exit of 9, drops through that high-speed kink, that little left-hander that falls down the hill. And then the turn that quite possibly might be the most important one on this track.
Yeah, getting off turn 11 and launching yourself down this long back straightaway. And boy, oh boy, those two leaders are really trading punches right now. Halen has the fastest lap of the race at 206.2. His last lap was at 206.3. Baptista 206.2, but slightly slower than the fast lap of the day. So they are really executing tremendously. The chasing pack are in the 206s as well. So a lot of pace here at the front of the field.
Yes, field is looking strong. And by the way, I want to correct something. I said that joining Halen and Pat Long in that win at Road Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, I said it was Scott Hargrove, but it was Ryan Hardwick. And Ryan Hardwick is a mighty talented driver too, and don't want to misrepresent that on his behalf. But nonetheless, they got that podium, and you can see just with the margin of what Halen's doing up front right now, why John Wright, one, is a big fan, and why two, he was able to spend a lot of time with Wright Motorsports coaching up-and-coming Porsche GT3 Cup driver.
Yeah, he's a great fit. I mean, when you go into your super sub, there's no better than Jan Halen, and I just had a feeling that he was thinking about last night, how can I get the lead of this race and put a show on, and he was pretty determined there, very late on the brakes, and just surprised Baptista, nothing that Rodrigo could do, and then made it stick on the exit of the corner as well.
And watching this battle right here for 4th overall, but 3rd in the Pro-Am, last spot on the podium between Marcelli and Dial, and it's a fun one to watch, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, it certainly is. The ebb and flow between the NSX and the Mercedes-AMG GT3. So far, Ryan Dial very quiet on the radio, not much team communication to the Scotsman other than watch track limits in turn 19. He received that warning on the previous lap. Meanwhile, the Racers Edge duo, they did make a couple of changes to the cars overnight, I'm told, seeking some additional pace, but early returns at least would indicate that they have not been successful in that pursuit. Their lap times relatively unchanged from yesterday. Drivers quiet on the radio, not a lot of communication, but not necessarily finding that burst of speed they were hoping for with some of the changes they implemented.
That's one of the dynamics, isn't it, Cal? You know, you can rub on the car and make big changes and have nothing go right. You can make little changes and it goes very well. It's just part of the dynamic, and sometimes you just, you say, well, we think we've got an answer here, and it doesn't change anything. It's just part of the black magic, the black art, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and we've got some great graphics to show you here. The Race Vision powered by AWS. This is the fastest speed on the straightaway down to the brake zone for turn 12. You can see the Acura leads the way, or is tied for the fastest trap speed with the Ferrari of Baptista. Porsche looking pretty strong as well, and you can see the Mercedes that has a lot of downforce in it with Ryan Dial there, just about a mile an hour slower.
Still pretty good parity across a variety of different manufacturers there, and you've got to be pretty pleased with that. I mean, Acura, Ferrari, Porsche, and Mercedes to be within essentially, what, 1.5 miles an hour. That's pretty tidy.
Yeah, it's really tight. And you talk about, you know, the car tweaking on it, and maybe the actors are hoping for that secret sauce here today. They haven't quite found the magic unless they come on stronger towards the later part of this run. But the Ferrari that won yesterday and currently runs second, putting the pressure on Jan Halen up front here, they rolled off the trailer, as we call it, with the setup to start the weekend. Not in great shape. They had to work really hard, and boy, did they turn things around here on Friday evening. Came out of the blocks for qualifying yesterday morning in cool conditions, and both Martin Fuentes with the pole yesterday and then his teammate Rodrigo Baptista, they found the sweet spot with that car and that chassis, and it's really developed into a really fast car here at Circuit of the Americas.
And also in Sports Club, you can see Mark Issa has gone around on Jason Daskalos and has picked up the overall lead in that category and the GT3 lead at this stage. Ryan Gates still leads Jason Bell in the GT2 overall category, but now the question is, what's Jason going to be able to do? Is he just sort of conserving a little bit here and is going to charge in a little bit? It'll be interesting to see. Issa certainly charged early, and there's Gates. And there's Bell. That's the margin first to second. And these GT2 machines, we've talked about it. As you said, they don't have quite the tech in terms of driver aids, but they have quite the tech in that engine department.
Yeah, 700 horsepower. We're hoping to see the Audi GT2 machine that's now in the hands of GMG. So I'll be curious to see if they bring it out for an outing at the final rounds of the championship at Indianapolis. But I understand that car is a little bit more downforce, not quite the same horsepower as the Porsche, or has been balance of performance back a little bit. So I was hoping to see that compete here this weekend. James Safron is trying to get someone inside that cockpit and make an entry into the championship. But here we see a great battle between the two Racer's Edge teammates. Hindman there, just using every inch of the road. That's the slowest corner on the racetrack, turn 15, and then it just continues to wind up. As you come through this amazing corner, triple apex corner, plunge down the hill, swing it back across for this really quick left-hand turn. Try and trim that curbing just a little bit to widen the radius.
Boy, and I'll tell you, the lap times between these three, I just looked over at it, and through the timing stripe, a 2:07.04 for Hindman, a 2:07.00 for Marcelli, and a 2:07.03 for Dial. It doesn't get much closer than that, and they are just really putting on a click. I want to get back real quick to what you were talking about with the Ferrari, where they didn't unload well. They made some changes, and it ended up being really fast. But even the drivers said it doesn't necessarily look like it's great. You know, you watch it through the S's, it's pogoing around a little bit. And they said it's definitely on a nice knife edge, but that's where we found the speed in that car. And then the drivers just have to get up in the wheel a bit.
You do, and I think the fortunate thing is in Rodrigo Baptista, you got one of the most naturally gifted drivers in the field. And I think with Martin Fuentes, he's super fast, but he has so much experience now in a Ferrari as the AM in that building. And he's just really, really quick. I mean, he's competed against some of the best Ferrari factory pilots that have competed in this championship over the years and been equal on pace. So just tons of experience there, and sometimes the car doesn't feel good, but it gives you the platform and it gives you the change of direction. I think that's what they were looking for. With how these high-speed S's come at you, you need a car that will turn quickly side to side and not be lazy there. Maybe they just had to stiffen the platform up a little bit to get that lap time.
And obviously they are going to get, Marcelli takes a little bit of a look, they're going to get a fresh set of tires on these cars when they get to the pit stop. But they also get to refuel. But in these first 45, 50 minutes, they lose that fuel. If the tire deg isn't so much that it pretty much negates the car being a little bit lighter, they're just going to continue to get more and more lively, aren't they? They'll accelerate better, corner better, brake better.
Certainly Kyle Marcelli's the white Acura there. Looks a little livelier than his teammates right now. See, everyone's pace has fallen off about half a second from what we saw earlier in the race, so a little bit of tire degradation coming in. It's pretty warm here this afternoon, sneaking up into the 80s ambient temperature-wise.
One of the interesting things, too, in terms of the toll it takes on tires, this track, I mean, those S's, and that constant change in direction, you load it, you out, then the next thing, then you're back on it again, so they don't get a lot of chance to cool. And then you've got some really long duration corners. Obviously, that 16, 17, 18 complex is the one that really gives those tires on the left side of the car pasting. But even in the stadium section, it's just these long arcing turns where you're just leaning on the tires constantly, except for that long back.
Yeah, and I think one thing that has happened here is you watch Rodrigo Baptista, look how much of the curbing he can use. When we first came here, those curbs were much more abrupt, so they've softened those a little bit. That's allowed you to straight line a bit more through this high-speed S section. This is Sector 2 that we're looking at. There's Martin Fuentes, Baptista's teammate, getting ready and just poised to take action this afternoon.
Yeah, head in this race big time, because he's going to have to crawl behind the car. And of course, these guys took it to the win in yesterday's 9th round of the championship. The top two, Halen and Baptista, Porsche Ferrari, are down the road a bit, but Kyle Marcelli is starting to really dial up the pressure on his teammate, Trent Hinman.
Yeah, he is. His car looks to be a little bit better planted right now. He looks to the inside, not close enough. Trent takes it in super deep on the brakes into turn 12, but definitely through this twisty section here. This is starting Sector 3 of this lap. As we said, very unique sectors. You got the climb up the hill into turn 1 and the start of the S is Sector 1, then through the S is down the back straightaway Sector 2. This is the stadium section. Look how close the two teammates are. Almost trading paint there as they came into turn 15.
And Marcelli was trying to get Trent to pinch down tight so he could roll a little bit of speed, maybe have Trent run a little wide. And that's all part of this chess match. And when you've got identical cars in this case, but all built to that same GT3 spec, and cars that are pretty sensitive in terms of the aero on the nose, sometimes your real hope is just to get the guy in front of you to hustle him into a little bit of a mistake. And you don't see Trent make a lot of those, but as a pursuer, you never give up trying.
No, you just got to keep pushing. A lot of respect you would expect to see between the two teammates. Seeing a lot of track limit warnings coming up. One for the 63 car through 19 and through 20, and the 2 leaders with the 20 car of Halen and the #1 machine of Baptiste have been warned about exceeding track limits in turn 20. That's the final corner on the front straightaway.
Do keep in mind that, you look at it and you go, well, there's all this runoff. Does it really make a difference? Ooh, Marcelli a little wide there. But the part of the issue is they created all of this paved runoff as a safety barrier in case you had an off, that you could run into it, just stay on the brakes, get the car righted. Well, say that wall is 60 feet back and you're running 30 feet off the track in a big arc through 19, suddenly that safety barrier is not what it was designed to be, and that's part of the concern, isn't it?
It is, and the second part of that, if you try to police it, is being consistent with it. You can't have eyes everywhere, so you can have drivers who are taking advantage of the situation in certain areas of the racetrack. So it's a tough one. It's a steward's nightmare, to be honest with you, coming here and trying to keep everyone in check.
Here's a look at the leader, Jan Halen, in that Wright Motorsports, Hopkin Investments, Equitable Porsche 911 GT3R that has jumped to the lead early and continuing to drive away just a little bit in this one. But as I say that, Baptista dropped back to almost 2 seconds back. He looks a little closer than that. It was 1.8 last time through, and he might be starting to feel just a little bit of speed here. And we'll see if he's getting ready to close that margin up just a little bit on Halen up front as they head through turn 19 and the final turn 20. This battle for the lead continued to be close. It was 1.8 seconds last time through, but watching Baptista, he may have taken a little bit back on that. No, I was a miss, actually. It's still 1.8. But I guess I caught him visually at a spot where they were in a brake zone and probably accordioning in. But they're matching times right now. And just a quick note here, in GT Sports Cup, in the GT3 category there, Issa got around Dascalos, but hasn't gotten away from him. Dascalos has kept that at about 1.5 seconds, and they're running really, really close lap time.
Yeah, it's a tight battle there. And one thing that we're seeing a lot of now is being posted a lot of warnings for track limit violations. Our 2 leaders have been warned, and also Ryan Dial, who's given chase here to the 2 Acuras in that black Mercedes. He's had several warnings just at him in general, so he's got to be careful here.
Just the difference in lines that those 2 Acuras are running when they're through that turn 6. Hinman tends to keep it pinched a lot more toward the right side of the track, and Marcelli just lets it really flow, widens it out there. At first I thought he may have made a mistake, but I've been watching it, and he just continues to run that same line. He just thinks that's a better line, a little more free through that corner, if you will.
Yeah, there's so many options that are provided here at this race circuit. It's so wide open, particularly the S's, and particularly when you start, how much of the curb do you want to use? How does it then affect the next corner? So you're trying to back up, and you're learning a lot. When you start to ride in close proximity to your competitors here, you're seeing what they're doing. You'll then try and monitor that visually. Did he get off the corner with a little bit more of a gap or not? You're just trying to make the correct mixture. Maybe use a little bit of his line somewhere, stay with yours somewhere else, and ultimately, you know, reduce your lap times.
Hinman had opened up a little bit of a gap in a very short time frame, a couple of laps back, and Marcelli now has closed that right back up again. The interesting dynamic here to me is that it sure looks like the margin between Hinman and Diao hasn't changed much. It's just Marcelli closes up, gets to the back of Hinman, and then it might be that he gets close, runs there a little bit, loses the air on the nose, feels the effect on those fronts, has to back off just a little bit to have them come back. Meanwhile, Halen up front, that margin now, this is about as big as we've seen it, 2 seconds for Jan Halen over Baptista, and then here comes this tremendous battle for the final overall podium spot.
I'm sure that the Squadra Corsa team are giving Baptista the warning. Listen, we're in the thick of a championship. Jan Halen, he's not here for the points overall, and he may not run at the next round of the championship, so don't worry about it. Focus on the fact that the championship leaders coming into this weekend with the Kreidstrike team, they're not here. Try and take advantage of that. Also, Jan Halen's teammate Fred Portad does not have nowhere near the experience or probably the pace of Martin Fuentes. So once we get to that pit stop and we get that done and underway and we get the other drivers in, maybe the Squadra Corsa team will get to the front, but they've got to be thinking big picture right now. This is a tremendous opportunity for them to increase their championship lead going to Indy.
Having a look here at Issa, as I said, got to the front. He's now opened that up a little bit more. There's Jason Dascolo, so he's lost just a little bit, about another half second here that Issa has been able to put on Jason. And I was really impressed when Jason showed up at Sonoma, and again, a little older variant of the Audi GT3 machine, not the current spec. And you know, Jason has been doing some racing. He's run some GT type racing in other series and the like. But you know, back when he was running a number of seasons in Pirelli World Challenge and running the GT equipment at that point, running at that level, he hadn't been doing that for a while. He showed up, and the first 20-25 minutes of that 40-minute race at Sonoma, he was hanging right with the back of the GT3 field. That rust fell off fast.
Yeah, it's great to see him back and great to see him performing at such a high level. Looking at their individual lap times, Issa and Dascolo is very close, but Issa just seems a little bit more consistent. Keeps running 209, mid-209s consistently and is inching away.
Here's Ryan Gates. Again, he has been the man, dominated every category in terms of wins, poles, fast laps, etc. in this series. Comes from what's called the time attack background, which is essentially a long qualifying session where you go out and set a lap and then somebody else goes out and tries to better the lap, then you go out and try and take it back, etc. And so the qualifying nature, when he goes out qualify, very comfortable, familiar to him, but he's really enjoying stringing together these laps and trying to become a really solid, and he's already, I think, pretty much there, really solid road racer. And then we were talking earlier, he sure knows how to celebrate in Victory Circle when he gets the win, and then he poses and she says yes at Road America. That was a fun moment.
It really was. This is a fun moment too, seeing these two teammates really duking it out here. Marcelli through the middle of the S's. I'm not sure if he's just getting that aero wash effect where he misses the middle part of the S. He dives down to the inside. That's a late move. Hinman gives him just enough room. It's going to be a drag race. Marcelli may have got the position.
That wider line allowed Hinman to just roll maybe a little bit more speed, but right now I'm not sure how much of a side draft you can get with a GT3 car. Finally Hinman, now he pops back out again. And that pop-out move, when you come back out, suddenly you get all that air on the nose, and they both run wide. Now, will Hinman? No, Hinman did exactly what you're supposed to do. If you run wide like that, you can't just come barging back on track. And came back on as close as you could be to Marcelli, but did it cleanly. and made that pass stick. And it didn't look to me that Marcelli really ran him too wide. They just both floated a little wide.
Yeah, love to know what John Maraki, the team boss's heart rate was like during that little moment there. So Marcelli feels he has a bit more pace. I think that's why he's pushing to get that position. About 15 minutes away from the pit window opening, so if he's got an advantage, he needs to try and use it up now. But we anticipate a lot of these pros staying in towards right the end, so they may be seeing another 20 minutes plus of action before they turn it over to their AM partner here today.
And it's amazing how that side-by-side cut and thrust racing, even as brief as it was, just knows your momentum enough. And look how quickly Ryan Dial is right back on the rear deck of that Acura.
You know, from Marcelli having to miss some rounds where his teammate Martin Barkey just could not afford to be away from home and business when he has to do a quarantine 14-day period if he returns from racing here in the States. So that's the reason that they missed the last rounds of the championship at Road America, but they found a great teammate for him in Ziad Gandor, who's seen action with the TR3 team earlier this year in a Ferrari. So for Marcelli to be back is great news for our championship.
Yeah, and Ziad, when he ran earlier in the season here in the championship, he was feisty. He got up on the wheel, would go after it, and really enjoyed it, and was turning some really smart laps as well. So as more experience he gets in this car, I think he is going to be pretty effective. He comes out of Ferrari Challenge and has had a lot of success in that category of car, and they're pretty stout as well. Today's coverage is brought to you in partnership with Lamborghini, with Mercedes, and with Porsche. Up front in this battle for third overall, Marcelli holds it right now. So at this stage, the top 3 overall, Cal, are all Pro-Am category machines. And then Hinman, and he'll turn over to Shelby Blackstock, leading in the silver category. But in 4th, then Dial, and then 6th overall, and 2nd in silver is Russell Ward, and then silver TechNet, Windward Racing Mercedes, that he'll be turning over to Alec Udell. But once you let Ryan Dial get a little sniff and get close, he is pretty much going to just stick with you here. Now he's starting to fill Hinman's mirrors.
He is, and we just saw a shot of their pit box there for the DXDT team. And now Stefan Pfeiffer, so much success over the years in this paddock. And he's worked with Ryan before, so Ryan asked him to jump on board and just analyze where they're at right now, how they can make some little change-ups of their procedures possibly, and car setup here before the end of the season. And I think everyone's gearing up for 2021, trying to learn as much as they can in these last few rounds of the championship.
There's that different line once again that we're watching between Marcelli and Hinman in that section of track. And you know, just because they're team cars, I guess it certainly doesn't mean that they're necessarily set up the same. And so these drivers at this level recognize immediately what the car will give them, and also when they have to give the car something, and that might be the reason for those different lines. But yeah, having Stefan Pfeiffer on board, anybody who does it seems to experience success.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. He's so smart, you know, technically savvy. A lot of time tuning on Porsches over the years, but he has the ability to switch it up, work with the Panos team yesterday, leading Ian James to a sprint championship in 2019. And he's just fun to be around. He's got great personality. He's very positive.
Yes.
And I think that's what they're looking for, some positive energy in that camp.
I think he could bike from one end of Texas to the other and not break a sweat either. He is fit and loves that mode of exercise. But there's a look at Ryan on board that Isalco DXDT machine. And I'll tell you, David Askew, he's really taken some significant steps, hasn't he, to grow DXDT and turn it into a serious top flight program.
He has, and they're now running in the TCR division. David's daughter Olivia had a wonderful run this morning, was up to second initially and had a quick spin and lost some time there, but boy, was she quick and cut through the pack. Really impressive young lady. If she puts a full season together next year, she is a genuine, no exaggeration, championship contender, I feel.
I think so as well. We've seen the pace, and once that racecraft gets worked on a little bit, she's going to be something. Jan Halen whistling through the S's here at Circuit of the Americas. That Wright Motorsports Porsche coming up on 55 minutes gone here. And the interesting thing is at this stage, you get into this time, if you've got anything left in those tires, it's time to just bury it and go, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, you don't have anything that you need to turn over to your teammate for, so there's no compromise there. And Baptista, very strong, but I tell you what, we expected a stern challenge from Jan Halen, and I think your Wright Motorsports team maybe have tweaked on that Porsche overnight. It was fast yesterday, seems even quicker today.
It does indeed. The margin first to second is now 3.4 seconds. Halen to Baptista, then another 4 seconds back to Marcelli, and this very good battle between Marcelli, Hinman, and Dial. Then a bit of a gap to Ward, and then to the Sports Club contenders. Good look there at the Racer's Edge pit box, and very focused as well. And I think focused and also scratching their heads just a little bit because they just cannot figure out a way to match the pace of that Porsche and that Ferrari up in front.
Yeah, and I think their progress was hurt a little bit by losing that early session in the weekend with that technical issue. There was some kind of set screw on the column, was not allowing the steering wheel to set properly on the splines, and that meant that all the electronics weren't working correctly, so nothing you can operate the car with unless that piece of equipment is working correctly. So that just got them on the back foot a little bit. And it's hard to play catch up. I mean, everything's coming at you quickly, everything's so critical, you can't take big swings at it for qualifying because track position is so important as well.
Yeah, it is indeed. And as we watch these two racers, Jack is, and we just had a shot of that pit box. Ryan Marine is right down amongst them. What are you hearing?
Well, we saw that interesting moment with the two Racer's Edge cars going door to door there for a couple of quarters, and John Meraki, the Racer's Edge team owner, he admitted to me that, yeah, that was a little bit nerve-wracking, no question about that, but their team principles on this have been clear throughout the season. They will let their cars race, and they only have two rules. You can't make contact, and you can't do anything stupid. I said to John, well, you know, that didn't count as anything stupid. He said, no, it was close, but it was fair game. And the big thing was to remember that the one car, the number 80, the white car that's missed a couple of rounds, they're not in a championship position. The red car of Hinman and Blackstock, they still are seeking a championship. Nevertheless, if one car is clearly quicker than the other, then they're free to race and let that play out, and that's exactly what we saw.
Well, here's a look at that moment once again. Late move by Marcelli, Cal, and just a couple of great corners of two stout drivers going side by side.
Yeah, he made the move into turn 11 there, and then there was a draft and drag race all the way down the straightaway, and he eventually got this and sealed the deal down into the brake zone for turn 12. And the other thing is, of course, they're running in different classes. So Hinman and Blackstock in the silver class, Marcelli and Ziad Gandor running in the Pro-Am category this weekend. So they can race clean and give each other a bit of racing room. But I have to say, if Trent Hinman was up against someone else other than Marcelli, I think he would have defended a little bit more aggressively.
I don't think there's any question about that. And that's the one thing as well that John Meraki understands. You know, two pros of this caliber, you know, they can run close concert. You can have confidence. They're that precise that they've got that car placed, and it's going to be fine. We'll take a look here at Jason Bell, who once again has had himself a very busy week and actually got a break. Only doing 7 races.
Yeah, he's been on a 8-race weekend for many events now. So, but just a great day yesterday. You know, celebrated the Sprint X win overall with Andrew Davis, and then followed that with the podium run in sprint competition as well. We're only about less than 2 minutes away from seeing the checkered flag for these sports club competitors. It's a 40-minute event when they see the checkered flag, and then shortly thereafter we'll see the pit window open for everyone else.
Minneapolis-based 311 RS Motorsport. Ryan Gates in the 311 Porsche. And, really just put together a really strong season. He came out of the box, and with that style of competition that he was used to, that time attack, he just gets up on the wheel and really hustles it. And
this has closed down.
Yes, it sure has. Gaskelos has run right. That's down to under a second last time by, and it's going to be even less than that, I think, as they combine. They get the white flag, 1 to go.
Yeah, Daskelo's last time by set his fastest lap of the race at a 209.4, which is a couple of tenths quicker than Issa. So this is a one-lap shootout here for the win.
There is the TR3 group. Greg Romanelli and the gang up on the box looking here. And
this is pressure right now.
Yeah, it is.
Mark has just got to keep it clean here, keep hitting his marks, but that white and black Audi is getting ever closer. And if you start to defend, you start to compromise your lines a little bit, compromise your lap time. He's got to try and figure out the solution here to maintain the gap.
Well, you wonder, because he says that charge up through the field, and he was taking huge chunks out of Daskelo's. Oh,
what a save.
Oh, has he saved it? No, yes, no, no.
Wow.
Wow.
That is a tank slapper and a half, and just misses the barrier. Maybe the end plate got there, I'm not sure.
Wow, what a moment. And he was, I mean, the speed he was showing there, I think he had an opportunity during this lap, but just hit that. He didn't straddle that sleeping policeman. He caught it firmly with that left front, didn't he?
Well, if you go over, if you eat as much curb as he did there and you got steering input in the car, that will really unsettle the car. You really need to have your hands straight as you do that. And it just got the rear end away. I thought it saved it for a moment, and finally it got away from him.
Too. Well, in the motorcycle world, you would have called that a tank slap.
Yeah, big one.
Yeah, but gives Issa a bit of breathing room, obviously, and I'm sure he's appreciative of that.
He just eases away now. He's just cruising. Pressure's off.
What I was going to get to was Issa, you know, he had a huge, hard charge to get up to and past Daskelo's, and he may have taken more out of those Pirelli P0s than Daskelo's. A bit more racing experience, certainly at this caliber of competition, and may have said, no, I'm keeping my tires underneath me. And man, did he make a run late.
So he's going to dive for pit lane. You got to take the checkered flag, Mark.
There we go. Yeah. This is one high energy, fun guy, and he's going to be delighted as TR3 and Mark Issa win GT Sports Club and Circuit of the Americas. They saw Daskelo's coming. You know, the shot before, they was looking awfully concerned.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced it was going to be this black Ferrari grabbing the checkered flag, but ultimately he does.
Yeah, that was a great run there. Lap here, and there is Ryan Gates, who gets another win in the GT2 overall category in that white Porsche. Who's going to be wheeling around, just has a couple of corners to go to come through. And, you know, that just, obviously, you can see the difference between a high downforce car versus a low downforce, high horsepower car on this track. So it's designed for high downforce. And, but nonetheless, Ryan Gates putting in some really stout laps. And here he goes, coming through to pick up yet another checkered flag here. 8 on the season. Just a remarkable run for that, the driver of that 311 RS Motorsports machine. And he will enjoy this cool-down lap and leave Circuit of the Americas a winner at the home of the U.S. Grand Prix. Now the key is here, once those Sports Cup guys take that checkered flag, they got to hustle it around just a little bit because they need to get into the pits and get into their pit stalls and park before the pit stop window opens for the GT World Challenge America powered by AWS machinery, which happens at 45 in.
Yeah, and but with the pros starting this race, it's the lower graded driver starts day race 1 of the weekend, and the higher graded driver qualifies and starts race 2. And you really want to maximize their seat time and their track time to get the best results. So even though the pit window will open in a minute or so, expect to see a lot of these drivers stay out for almost 10 minutes to try and execute that strategy.
The ones that might change that up a little bit, I would think, you know, in the silver category where both of the drivers are very quick, if the driver on board the car now says, look, I think if we can make just a little change in tire pressure and this thing's really going to come to life, then they might opt to do that on the leading edge of that 10-minute window.
Yeah, particularly if you got a little bit of tire degradation going on and you don't have the balance in the race car. So they'll know the pairing and what the delta is between them in terms of lap times, and also then get the analysis from the starting driver and how much they're struggling.
Ryan Dial stays glued to the back of Hinman. Marcelli, though, is driven away to the tune of about 2.5 seconds. At this point, the margin between Halen and Baptista, boy, I mean, Halen has been just metronomic in those laps, hasn't he? His last lap was a 2:06.7.
Yeah, second quicker than Baptista, so that margin is now up to 6+ seconds. So it's going to give Fred Portad, if they execute a good pit stop here, a healthy lead to try and hang on to for a bit.
You bring up a good point. Those pit stops, that minimum window, they always make it tight enough that you can certainly get everything done you need to get done in that window, but you can't have any kind of a mess up, because then it runs over and then everything you've worked on track here is kind of just lost. So everybody's got that in the back of their mind as well. And watching here, Rodrigo Baptista, the Hublot Ferrari, a solid second place overall right now. Jan Halen driving off now at a little bit better clip, finds himself up by 6+ seconds over Rodrigo Baptista, and he's got about a similar margin back to Kyle Marcelli. And Halen, I'm just mightily impressed. You know, you look at his lap times, he's almost constantly in the 2:06s, and Baptista, Marcelli, everybody behind him, they might hit the 2:06 on occasion, but then they're back in the 2:07s. Oh, and look at this.
Diala's got around Hinman
Wow.
here, so pit window is now open. We expect with the pros starting this race that they'll stay out a little bit longer, try and maximize their seat time and track time as Hinman starts to come back at Ryan Dial. But I think Hinman's really struggled here for the last 10-15 minutes of this stint here to keep the balance in the race car.
Well, that's kind of what I was alluding to, you know, talking about the fact that the silver pairings. Here's another look at what happened here. Oh.
Dive down the inside into turn 11 and gets the job done, pushes Trent a little bit wide, but then he immediately goes on the defense. He recognizes that Anchor's got a little bit more straightaway speed.
Exactly, and he took that Mercedes right to the track out point here. And there's David Askew getting ready to get on board. But with Hinman, who seems to have just dropped off in pace, turning over to Shelby, who's a very fast driver. Hinman, you know, might, if he's thinking that just a quick little tire pressure adjustment might bring some life to this car, they might duck in a little sooner. But at this point, they opt to stay out.
They do, and I think it's very important that you maintain perspective on the big picture of what class you're running in. So
yes,
you can't get too wrapped up in this overall positioning, you know what I mean? There's still a strategy within their class, but really focus on the other silver pairing of Alec Udell and Russell Ward, who are running currently in the 6th position overall, second in class. Got to focus on them, maximize your point score.
Yeah, absolutely. And the pace we saw from Alec Udell yesterday, you would think that they might duck in. And in fact, I think Russell may have made that move into pit lane.
See Dial here, almost in the grass there through turn 8, straight lines over turn 9 apex, and there is Russell Ward in. Young Alec Udell getting ready to do battle. Great to see him back in our paddock. A lot of success over the years. Went to Europe last year and won himself a European GT4 title.
Yeah, Silver Cup, first American to win a GT4 Euro title here. Knows this track very well, obviously. Spent a lot of time here. Based out of the Woodlands, Texas. Although he did spend 4 years in Clemson going to college and getting his degree in engineering. Keep an eye on the times here.
77 seconds is the minimum pit stop time.
They had a little issue with that left rear yesterday, and it looks like they may have again, because when it drops and they go, that's rarely a good sign.
Dial immediately has gapped Hinman by a couple of seconds here. So he's had pace, probably frustrated again. Didn't have the best of starts. It seems like that's a bit of a problem for the Mercedes. I'm not just sure if it's just the starting pace, whether it's just out of its sweet spot in terms of the torque of the engine, but he's been lapped a couple of times here in recent rounds, Ryan Dial.
He has, and as we've talked about, just how difficult these cars can be to execute passes. Not a brilliant stop once again for the number 33 machine, leaving a few seconds on the table here.
Yeah, almost 4 seconds. We now see Carl Marcelli driving down pit lane. It'll be Ziad Gandor taking over from him.
I was going to ask you something about this. When we saw Well, first of all, let's watch this stop because in comes Marcelli, and Ziad Gondor is waiting. Ryan?
Strong opening stint from Kyle Marcelli, the Canadian. Ziad Gondor, who raced here earlier this year, but did so in a TR3 Racing Ferrari. Still getting acclimated to this Acura NSX GT3 Evo. He'll get on board with some help from the team. It's a scuffed set of Pirelli P0s coming out of the tire oven for the Racer's Edge Motorsports crew. Pretty smooth stop to this point. Remember, they had an issue yesterday in the first race of the weekend, sliding a bit too far and had trouble getting the fuel nozzle engaged. That cost them a ton of time. This one going much more smoothly. Kyle is out, the car is down and waiting. And as you guys have talked about, that's a good sign.
Oh,
he stalled it.
Stalled it. I mean, he had it up on the pipe, Cal, and was ready to launch, and then it just.
Well, it's a new car, do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
launches differently, and you could see he had it up on the pipe, was trying to get that big launch there, but it just stuck and lost precious seconds there. So overshot his pit stop yesterday, and a little bit of a delay there getting away this time, but seems to be doing a really nice job once he's behind the wheel out on the racetrack.
Oh, that he does. And last year he ended up tied in the points with Neil Gahani for the Trofeo Pirelli Am, which is the second highest level of Ferrari Challenge, and just lost it on a tiebreaker. He's done Ferrari Challenge Asia, and he's also done GT3 Cup racing in the Middle East, and he's done some rallying where he picked up the nickname Z-Hog. And so he is out and behind the wheel, and yeah, he's willing to get up and get after it. There's no question about that. I'm sure he's going to be a little infuriated with what happened there, and might just motivate him to even greater speeds.
Well, rather than kind of crawl away and increase the revs as he went, he was trying to do that big launch there, but just as soon as if it doesn't work, you typically stall it when that happens, so as opposed to feeling it out of the pit box a little bit.
Jan Halen continuing to put down laps. Last one at 2:06.9.
He's going to have to pit this time. It's going to be really tight to do another lap and a half and be within the window. 3.5 minutes left to get to pit lane.
So this could be a pretty busy pit lane in just a couple of minutes here. Meanwhile, Alec Udell now behind the wheel of the TechMet Windward Mercedes. He's just going to try and drop the hammer here.
See tails away. There's a very different cosmetic styling to that generation of Mercedes AMG as the previous gen car compared to the 63 car of Ryan Dial, and now will be his teammate David Lescoe behind the wheel today.
And it's just, you see the differences between them and that new Evo. They've really focused a lot on increasing the aerodynamic efficiency of that Mercedes. It seems to be working here. Is Baptista. And last couple of laps, he's been a little bit, just marginally quicker than Halen. He's taken about 3 or 4 tenths off of the margin that Halen had here. As you said, we would think we're going to see pit lane get real busy here. First one might just be Halen on this lap. Here's Baptista working his way through 19. Yep, Jan Halen is in. Mows that beautiful Porsche down, and Baptista follows him in.
You could have probably squeaked it, but it was going to be awfully tight
Yeah.
to do one more. And if you have a little slip or a spin, suddenly you're going to be serving a penalty, so no one likes to cut it that close.
And I think they time it at just a tick over 36 seconds from the pit in to the pit out if you just do a drive-through, and that's what you'd lose if you fall outside of that window. It's just not worth it.
No, it's, risk versus reward is not really warranted, that's for sure.
Having a look there at that stop. Here comes Ryan Dial. Hinman behind him. Ryan?
Dial slides to a halt, looking like a pretty smooth start. A little bit close to the wall here. It gives the crew a bit less room to work with for DXDT Racing. Meanwhile, we do see the Acura of Hinman coming in. He'll be turning over to Shelby Blackstock. We've got David Askew being installed behind the wheel of this Mercedes AMG GT3. Good stop, it would appear, for the Wright Motorsports team. That car's been released and already heading down pit lane with Fred Fordad installed behind the wheel of that Porsche 911 GT3R. Also, Martin Fuentes making his way down pit lane.
And And that Mercedes sits for just a second, as we've talked about. That is a good sign. Now it accelerates away. How about that stop for Jan Halen to Fred Portet, Cal? 77.4 seconds.
Yeah, just 4/10 outside of the minimum, so that's perfect execution by that group. It's been a great day so far. Now the pressure's going to be on Fred Portet to hang on to that lead.
And in the pits alone, they just opened that margin up by a second over Baptista and Fuentes. And Hinman and Blackstock, they are a 4/10 of a second shy, but I don't think they've used that joker yet.
I don't recall them using it yesterday. You only allowed one joker per weekend, so certainly Jan Halen really pumped up there with the crew. That was an amazing start and super stint, so consistent, just stretched the lead all the way to his pit stop. Nice job.
David Askew has the job of bringing it home, as does Fred Portet. Fred, you said we've seen some really, really solid runs out of Fred Portet. There is Fuentes.
Yeah, and their stop was about 2.5 seconds, Fuentes Baptista, and you'd expect to be a bit conservative. They have the championship lead, potential win here today. They don't want to give anything away by just trying to cut it too close, so smart decision, I feel, for the Hublot team.
Yes, I think when you've got an opportunity like this, you need to be just that smidge conservative, not overly so, just to make sure that you can max out the opportunity here. And now we'll see just what Martin does in terms of pace relative to Fred Portet in the battle for the lead here at Circuit of the Americas. Today's coverage is brought to you in partnership with AWS, CrowdStrike, and Optima Batteries. And here we go. Things are going to reset just a little bit. And let's take a look at what the margins are. Here comes Portet, Fuentes. And it's 3 seconds, basically, 2.9 seconds between them at this stage.
I think that's just the outlet. Martin's got on it a little bit quicker and has closed that gap very rapidly indeed. That is a battle for overall and class position with the 20 Wright Motorsports Porsche running in the Pro-Am division this weekend.
Here is Askew, and you can see Blackstock behind him. Blackstock leading in that silver category. And Shelby has been super quick this year, so you'd expect him to close it up just a little bit, being a silver level driver to David Askew's bronze, as they call it.
But David's really learning his craft. He really puts in the time. Done a lot of racing, of course, and he also loves to do lapping day, so he keeps the team busy as he and his daughter, now who runs in the TCR class, continue to learn their trade. He just loves it.
Out of turn number 11, here's that long, long run. And we've talked about it before, obviously, his competitive racing instincts run to things agua. He's a real avid open ocean sailor, I think, in terms of competition.
Yeah, been very successful over the years. I think his brother does it as well. His wife is involved. Down to the inside, Shelby Blackstock takes away that position, so he's now moved up to 3rd overall on the road. See how much game he has if he can go on the attack and try and chase down Fuentes and Portet. As you said, they're used to silver victories, but they've also had a lot of overall wins this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely they have. Oh, and look at this. The battle is on for the overall and Pro-Am lead. Fuentes looking down into 20, wasn't quite there.
Yeah, he just needs to be patient. Obviously displaying a lot more pace right now than the Porsche, so just be smart about this. It's a big weekend for them. Came in at the championship round, 1 point behind the CrowdStrike entry, and again, just to reiterate, had some sad news that George Kurtz could not compete here this weekend due to some issues within his family. We wish them all the best.
We absolutely do. Certainly thinking about George Kurtz and family issues that he is dealing with here and not absent, but as a race team, you're going for a championship, and you hate to have something develop the way that it did here with the sudden withdrawal of the 04 car. And at the end of the day, you just go out and you do your job.
You do. That's what it's all about. And I think for Martin right now, he recognizes by the speed that he's caught Fred Portad here. He has a much faster Ferrari to work with. And now he's just got to be smart about how he utilizes that pace in grabbing the lead.
And there's plenty of time to do just that, obviously. So I think, yeah, the key word there is patience. And again, the experience of Fuentes. He is very effervescent out of the car, that's for sure. But in the car, he is really stout. And here comes Hinman. There's a look at that move that he made down to the inside of Askew.
Yeah, Shelby Blackstock, they just got the amazing run off the previous corner and just drafts him. And look at this, Fuentes is looking for a way by in the tight third sector here. This is turn 15. Slowest corner on the racetrack as we now take a look at the fastest trap speeds. But meanwhile, Fuentes around the outside, swings it out wide and grabs the lead.
And makes it stick. And you take a look there at those trap speeds. And relatively even to the Porsche, but I wonder, the Ferrari to the Porsche, but I wonder if Martin said, we're going to be about the same speed in the straights. I'm definitely a little bit quicker in the corners. That might be the place for me to do it, but going around the outside is always a little bit of a breathtaking, hard-to-throw moment. Rodrigo appreciated it.
Yeah, he's happy. The whole group is happy. They got another lead and potentially another win, and with it, they could have a massive championship lead of almost an insurmountable margin going to, can't quite clinch it here today, but they could have a 49-point lead with 50 points on the table at Indianapolis.
Ooh, Martin there.
It was a little bit of a straight line there. He got a little bit of a wiggle there through the S's, decided just to straight line it rather than trying to pinch it and get it through. He just needs to settle into a rhythm now. He's been on the attack, just develop a nice pace here. Keep plenty left in the tires in case there's a caution and get a reset towards the end. No need to keep pushing and extend the margin too big.
And as things have settled just a little bit here with Fuentes now going into the overall lead. Remember, we had the 40-minute Sports Club race unfold earlier in this one, and Ryan Marine is standing by with our winner.
That's right, winner of the GT2 category, specifically Ryan Gates, once again a winner. And I gotta say, driving one of these GT2 cars around a circuit like Circuit of the Americas, it's got to be a total blast. And then to get a little trophy at the end of it, what was the experience like?
Well, this track it's a big track. Lots of ups, lots of downs. There's some bumps, lots of curves. So that car is moving around quite a bit. But I have to say it does a pretty great job of handling all the different undulations, and it makes it pretty fun out there. A lot of work.
Yeah, we can tell, but it looks like a lot of fun, like you said. Coming from your time attack background, how different is it to go into a long race around a long circuit like this?
Well, honestly, I look at it as almost each lap we're trying to do a qualifying type lap. You leave a little bit left on the table, but just being super consistent, and that seems to work out pretty well, at least for how it feels for me.
Sure looks that way to us as well. Congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, well done, Ryan. I love that face mask, a little homage to Brumos Racing.
Yep, iconic Porsche entrant over the years.
Yeah, once that team and that the prep shop that they have up in Minneapolis, they had a lot of their success in that time attack running really heavily modified and advanced Subaru WRX type of machine. When that program ended, they jumped on the opportunity to make the move to Porsche, and he has embraced it big time. Here's another of our race vision powered by AWS stats, and that is fastest corner speed at the S's here, right in that turn 4 area. And you can see Jan Halen, he has done it all weekend long, just attacks in that section of the track.
Yeah, it's pretty cool fact to be looking at there. That's through turn 4. And Jan Halen was very much up on the wheel. I'm not sure they're the best laps that we've seen from Dial and Marcelli through that sector, but nonetheless, really impressive to see. At turn 4 through the S's, you're going over 130 miles an hour.
Yeah, that is quick. And this race vision powered by AWS, it's very early days of its development here, and already loving what we're seeing. The data goes up into the AWS cloud, components inside the AWS cloud, work the data over and send it back down to us. in these fascinating little looks deeper inside the data book of what's unfolding on the racetrack, and really enjoying it. All part of AWS's ever-growing support of this championship series. Great look, one of the favorite corners here, and whistling underneath it comes Martin Fuentes in that Hublot, Fort Lauderdale Ferrari and Concours Club machine.
I think the key for Martin here is just to find a nice rhythm and pace where the team can give him the strategy, looking at the numbers, that he'll be able to, they'll love to get this overall win. Certainly Shelby Blackstock is cutting laps a little bit quicker than him right now. We'll have to wait and see as he lays down a 207.1, so I think that's his fastest lap of his stint here. His teammate was trading punches with Jan Halen in the low 206 range earlier in this race, so just got to say, that's it, Martin. Don't use the tires up. The last thing you want to do is basically have nothing left. You get a 10-minute reset at the end, you have a shootout.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be thinking that far ahead here. Blackstock, that last lap at 208.2. So right now, Fuentes able to match him at this stage. Be interesting to see, though, once you get a little bit farther into this run, whether any of these cars actually was set up to be a little bit quicker at the end. Suddenly starts to show something. It's going to be interesting here. Obviously, it's going to take Alec Udell. He's got a lot of work to do, especially with the delay again in that pit stop, to make up some 25 seconds or so to get to Blackstock. But in terms of overall, he's not that far adrift right now of Ziad Ghandour.
Yeah, and running really fast lap times. Young Alec here, as we're looking at, is the only other driver in the 207 bracket, along with Martin Fuentes, who leads right now. Ziad, they're almost in the grass as he cuts through turn 8. Udell gives chase.
He really is a special talent here. And at this track, you would think that the latest Evo of the Mercedes, which has a bit more downforce design built into it, save for this long run down this back straight, that's probably the quicker way to go. So I think, Alec, what we're seeing from this team here with this older gen car on this track, they're really putting in a great run here.
They really are. And looking at his fast lap, he's actually run a faster lap than that 207. I just mentioned he'd run a lap at 206.8, so that's right in the mix as everyone else other than Baptista and Jan Halen early in the going. So really impressive lap times here.
And you can see he is starting to close ever more quickly under the back of Ziad Ghandour. And his laps have been, as you said, a couple of seconds quicker here than Ghandour's. And again, do keep in mind for Ziad, as we were talking about, this is his first time in this Acura. Most of his experience has been in Ferraris or GT3 Cup cars, so it's a little bit different beast, but he's acquitted himself quite well. Martin Fuentes working his way through the iconic S's here at Circuit of the Americas. This is a great sequence of corners here through turn 6, 7. This is turn 8, and here's 9. And I love this turn right here. You'd think it looks like it's just a simple blast, but in a high downforce car it is, but it falls away down the hill, and it really, if you get a great run there, you can maybe make something happen in turn 11. And speaking of making things happen, Alec Udell has caught Ziad Ghandour.
Yeah, he's making it happen in a hurry, isn't he? So chasing Ziad down, it's not for a class position, and Ziad just gives it to him. He probably got the nod on the radio, just open up that next corner and try and let him go. Don't fight him for it.
John Rocky, obviously, we know he's pretty good at big picture thinking.
Yeah, that is for sure. And it's great to see this Racers Edge team make the move from GT4 competition up to GT3 over the last couple of years with so much success. It's a wonderful little team. And with the support of HPD, they've found a great platform here. The car seems to have gotten stronger. It's really well suited to the latest iteration of the Pirelli P0. And they're a team that really executes at a very high level these days.
They sure do. Right now, let's get down to Ryan Marine, who is with a gentleman who just scored his 3rd consecutive win in Sports Club overall.
Yeah, that's right. Marquise pulling it off. A little dance from him here as well. I know it's not been the easiest year for you. You had the testing crash. You've been working hard to get back into racing form, and now to have these wins coming your way, how gratifying is it, given all the hard work?
You know, I wish under the helmet you could see the smile on my face, and sometimes under the mask, but when I'm out there, I'm smiling the whole time. The guy's behind me pushing, or if he's in front of me and I'm chasing him, it's just the most enjoyable time. So all the therapy, all the hard work for my foot to get back together, it's worth it in every way.
Well, we love the enthusiasm. Congratulations on another great run.
I had an amazing time. Thank you for the series. Thank you for all the sponsors. Rest well, Nobu Hotels.
Love it. Dress well, Nobu Hotel. He is just such fun. He is just such fun. He ran a race last year as a teammate to Martin Fuentes, and if you got even remotely close to the team transporter, you could. It was just zinging with energy in there. They are just a great pairing. But yeah, I had the pleasure of watching and calling Issa on his way to his championship in Ferrari Challenge, and he wears everything on his sleeve, and he is just absolutely effervescent.
Well, Mark resides in Atlanta, and his occupation is an attorney. I'd love to see his courtroom presentation if there's anything like how he chats outside of the car. It'd be cool.
It would be fun. Sit in on a case that he's doing here. Having a look here at Shelby Blackstock. Again, 3rd overall, but leading in that silver category. And this is going to be interesting to see here. And again, you know, Udell running in the silver class, so it's not for the overall scenario, but see what he's able to do relative to David Askew. I think it's going to be a bit of an ask for Udell to get up to 3rd overall here and be on the podium and go after Blackstock here, but he's certainly going to put his head down and give it a go.
Yeah, David's running a really nice lap time in the low 2:09 range, so even if Alec gets his head down, it'll be tough to catch him.
There's a good look there at Fred Poordad. And here is Shelby, and he's definitely running a little bit quicker here, so could see a change in the top 3 overall in short order here at Circuit of the Americas. Today's coverage is brought to you in partnership with Pirelli and with Rebellion Timepieces. Shelby Blackstock up on the wheel, giving it a go, and that number 93 Acura Accelerated Services NSX GT3s is closing in on the back of Fred Poordad in the Equitable Wright Motorsports Porsche, Cal.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing I'm looking at the lap times of Fuentes. He dropped down to a mid-9 on that last go-around, so I'm not sure if he's having any issues there, but Poordad is really losing sight of him, and certainly with Shelby's pace, if Fuentes runs laps in the mid-9s, he's got enough time left potentially to catch him for that overall win. So I'm not sure how important that is to Martin and the team in their battle for the Pro-Am Championship, but he could come under threat unless he gets his hammer down again.
Well, he and, I'm talking Fuentes, he and Baptista earlier in the season, I believe it was at Sonoma when they got an overall win. It was the 300th win for the 488 GT3 Ferrari platform since its inception, and they just happened to do that with an overall win. And I know that there's a certain amount of cachet that goes along with the overall. Certainly you want your class win, and that's what you have to focus on, but if you could do the overall win, you're going to like that. And Shelby Blackstock, along with Trent Hinman here in that red Acura, they've had a few overall wins this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the key now for Shelby is to really try and clear Fred here as quick as he can, get the hammer down, and they'll be curious to see if Martin Fuentes can match the pace of Shelby, because the gap between Shelby Blackstock and the lead right now is only 6.5 seconds. So he's really cut that in considerably here over these few laps here.
That last lap by Fuentes better, but still a mid-208 compared to where he was running here. Blackstock carrying a nice run of speed here. The problem is you get these ever-tightening S's. It's really difficult. You've got to really be able to surprise somebody, get somebody to make their own mistake to be able to do much here in these S's. So you really want to get through here, the exit of 6 or exit of 8 right here up through 9. Get the good run here and do something down into 11, and he may just have set that up.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a big run on Fred here. He'll plow it down to the inside for sure.
Straightens that out just a little bit. Now Fred's going to try and square up underneath and get to the throttle, and then it turns into a drag race. Look at this, side by side, and Fred Poordad just edging ahead. Well, what a great counter move by Fred Poordad after being under attack going into turn 11. Shelby Blackstock dove underneath, and Fred Poordad just squared up underneath him, got alongside, and almost took it back. Now he's trying to shorten that little run up here, but too much momentum around that wider line, and Blackstock is through, Cal.
He's through. That's for second position overall. Now the big question is, can he chase down Martin Fuentes, who has the lead? Do you see him disappearing through a couple of corners ahead? Take another look at this. Set out perfectly with a big run through the S's. Dives it down to the inside. But what I love about Fred Poordad, there's no give up in this racer. He just gets the hammer down, and then they're almost trading paint here. Shelby wants to get over to that left-hand side to protect, and Fred has immediately filled that lane.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating. Shelby exited. You could see him start to move, and Fred was already there, and he just went, wow. That was a great counter move. Got to respect that, and then fought his way through. But that was something I've been wanting to get to for a little bit here. You know, we watched when Hinman, Marcelli was popping on Hinman, and in this instance, when you have a car that's that sensitive aero-wise on the nose, you're running right behind. You want that toe, you want to be in that draft to be pulled along. But if you don't give any clue what you're going to do, and then you suddenly pop out, you get that huge blast. Do you suddenly get all of that aero that fast back on the nose, so then you could really go deep on the brakes and make that corner?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you got full downforce again when you're in clean air. So, yeah, it would be different to be trying to brake right behind someone. But, you know, it's all about just positioning. At that point, it's just getting alongside. And so often we see people make the move and they feel like they've still got to roll speed through the corner. Now just really get on the brakes even more then and just try and tidy it up, get to the apex, block the other competitor out without getting too dirty, and finish the move off. So here we're looking at Dave Lescoe having a good run here, running 3rd in the Pro-Am class, 4th overall. And he's really just continues to develop as a driver and show more and more speed as this season has progressed.
You talked about, without getting too dirty, trying to block the other driver from being able to make any kind of a counter move. And every once in a while, especially in open wheel racing where you can see the driver's head, you see a driver get inside, make the pass, and then he's not even looking at the apex. He's actually looking at that other car and just waiting to where that other guy wants to do something. Then he'll turn. And believe me, these guys are doing that too, aren't they?
Oh, for sure. It's a real cat and mouse game and a chess game during the course of one of these races. So looking at Alec Udell here, continues to run low, 2:07 range, which is faster than the leaders right now. So he is the fastest man on the racetrack currently on that previous lap. So doing a nice job. He's run some GT4 races this year in a different championship with this Windward operation. Now running in conjunction with the HTP organization, which they acquired over the past off-season. They had 50 to 60 races globally planned for the year. Then obviously with the pandemic and the COVID situation, unable to meet that number, but still staying pretty busy here in the late going of the championship.
Looking to see just what the margins are here for Udell. What kind of lap? A 2:07.4 last time. And that was a couple seconds quicker than anybody else that does another 2:07. This is 2:07.6.
Fuente seems like he's up to the task up front. He's extended that gap between he and second place runner now, which is Shelby Blackstock. It sits at 9.3 seconds, and as you can see, only 11 minutes on the board. So probably 5 or 6 laps left here for our leader. Shelby's going to keep pushing in. Nice stint here by Shelby Blackstock.
Yeah, I mean, he was impressive in this car. I mean, this is a fairly sizable step from him. I mean, he'd done Indy Lights, so from an open wheel high downforce perspective, but he moved basically from the TCR category of car right up into GT3 here. And at the opener in Circuit of the Americas, I mean, he was immediately on pace. This Acura just fit him like a glove.
Yeah, it really has, and he's got a great teammate in Trent Hinman. I mean, Hinman has so much experience now with this Acura NSX, but so it's a great sounding board for him and great data to work from, so you expect Shelby just to continue to improve.
He's working his way through the stadium section of this track. And literally, this next sequence of corners, the 16, 17, 18, as the Racer's Edge team watches, just to the left, what this wraps around is an absolutely beautiful amphitheater for musical performances.
Which is somewhat appropriate because Shelby's mum is the country and western superstar Reba McEntire.
He went exactly where I was thinking about it. Well played. Well played. And they even have a way here at this track on that long back straight. They've got just a little bit north, if you will, of that turn 12 area. They've got a setup where they can even have a much bigger stage for a massive crowd event. The amphitheater is a little bit more cozy and acoustically sweet.
They run a number of unique musical events here, and they also would typically have a big performance during the Grand Prix, which unfortunately we're not going to see here in the States this year with the switch in schedules due to the pandemic again, but hopefully next year we'll see everyone back. So it's a fun facility. It just offers so much to the crowds and the fans.
Get an update here in our fastest speed on the straights from Race Vision, powered by AWS. And Marcelli now shows the it's a 164 speed over Halen, still sitting there with Baptista and Dial. Marcelli had a really good run of speed here, and so is Udell, as he is starting to make serious inroads. I mean, he can very easily right now see David Askew. There's Askew, and not far behind him is the silver Mercedes in the hands of Alec Udell in the Windward machine. And as we sit here with 8.5 minutes left in this race, how hard does Alec push to get by on Askew? But more importantly, probably, is how hard does Askew defend to keep Alec behind him, since it's an overall, but it's not a class issue.
Well, they're going to push. I mean, there's that racing mentality.
Right.
You want to gain a position, you don't want to lose one from David's perspective, but they're running in different classes, so for Alec Udell, he's just enjoying this experience. I mean, for a young driver like him to get the opportunity to jump behind the wheel of a GT3 car and run on a racetrack that he knows really well has to be fun. He's enjoying the experience, and you know, he's trying to make a statement with this Windward team. Whatever plans they have for the future, he'd love to be a part of that.
And he is certainly doing that. And I think for David Askew, you know, you think about yesterday, had that got inside of that pit stripe, the pit exit lane, got a drive-through for that, had that spin and the like that cost him some time in that contact. And I think it's really important for David here to get a really clean and quick stint in, and he's got that accomplished right now. Sure, he'd love to fend off a guy like Udell, and that would even give him a bigger boost of confidence, but I think right now it's just bring it home. He's really done a nice job in that DXDT Salco Mercedes here, and just finish it out.
Yeah, I love the consistency of his laps. He's found a nice range in the 209 bracket that he continues to keep knocking out. So, but he's going to probably have to be hanging on here to try and maintain that overall position, because Udell has had lap times some 2+ seconds quicker per lap, and still 6 minutes on the board, so probably another 3 laps or so for these competitors to duke it out with.
Yeah, and Udell is coming in a big hurry here. Again, it's time to big picture it. Certainly Ryan Dial, who will be on the headset and chatting with David Askew. Here comes Udell. He's going to be chatting with him and, you know, letting him know just what he needs to be thinking about at this stage. That margin up front, boy, Fuentes, he's back into the 207s, Cal, and that margin's up to over 10.5 seconds.
Yeah, he had me concerned there with that 209.5 that he ran a few laps ago, but maybe he had a little bobble or something went amiss, but he's regrouped nicely.
Great battle for 4th overall unfolding here at Circuit of the Americas. Alec Udell has closed up in a hurry, throwing down some brilliantly fast laps, has caught David Askew. This is for 4th overall. It is not a battle for position class. And there's Ryan Dial's been watching and talking to David Askew, I'm sure, and he's told Askew, this isn't for class position. Don't worry about it. You've driven a beautiful stint. If he gets really racy and attacks, just let him through. And for David Askew, he is doing exactly what he really needed to do here. And there goes Udell.
Yeah, so you got the young generation in an old generation car going up against the new generation Mercedes and the older generation driver. It's a drag race down the front straightaway.
And they are, as they like to say in Canada, side by each, and having a really good run here. And Askew's got the line. Now it's just an out-braking duel, and Alec just floats some speed right up and around the outside. Maybe learned that from Askew's move yesterday, huh?
Yes, a really nice job there. And yeah, did Askew put a nice move on Gandor yesterday. So there's Ryan Dial, just settles back into his seat. We'll be happy with this as a podium run that they have going on in the Pro-Am division, and nice to see young Alec up on the wheel here. You can see he's really hustling that Mercedes there through the S's. You can see how edgy it looks. It's just a different dynamic when someone's pushing as hard as he is, as you can see.
Yeah, he's really floating that car, and just all of those little corrections.
Spent a lot of time
under, isn't it?
Spent a lot of time under the guidance of Pat Long, who's got so much success and experience in GT3 machinery. Used him as a sounding board in his early days, and now young Alec is sharing his knowledge with Russell Ward, who he teams with here this weekend.
Yeah, Alec has developed a big reputation, and a lot of people are looking at wanting to have him help on the coaching side of things. There's a reason for that. And again, he's got that engineering degree, so he's got that understanding of the car, the mechanical sympathy, and he's also got just the raw pace. And he is still giving it some serious boot, isn't he? You gotta love it.
Yeah, he's some 10 seconds back of Fred Portad, so there's no time to catch him unless Fred has a little mistake, which he hasn't made yet today. So Fuentes up front, really impressive run for the Hublot team. There's a big door open for this championship chasing group coming into this weekend. They're 1 point behind the CrowdStrike team, who are here with Colin Brown and George Kurtz. They had big pace, and then George got the news that he had to head home for the weekend, so they didn't see any green flags here this weekend. No points on the board, and with a double success, if he can just bring it home, huge swing in the points, and pretty much the title will be theirs if they can just finish an event at Indy.
There's another look at our race vision powered by AWS. The AWS Cloud Stats giving us some great information, and whoa, he's having fun. And obviously, this is going to be really sweet, especially when you saw that lap time that Baptista put in that second qualifying. You immediately recognize, well, they might just have hit that little magic sweet spot, and it's going to be tough for everybody else. Here's Shelby Blackstock, who they are looking at putting together another win in the silver category. And it has been a pretty remarkable season for them there as well. They've put together a lot of wins at this stage, and certainly appreciate what they've been able to do. And a number of those wins have been overall as well.
Yeah, they've had tremendous speed, and on occasion, they had a few technical issues. I remember they had a pit stop problem at VIR, for example, which cost them potential overall win there. But here, the Squadra Corsa team just giving the final message to Martin Fuentes. 1 lap to go here, and another victory will be theirs.
I wonder what kind of whoop the pits are going to hear from Martin as he comes by the checkered flag, assuming he hangs on to it. We don't want to throw out any kind of announcer's curse issues here.
Marcelli, right side of our screen there, watching his teammate Gandor bring the white number 80. BRP Acura NSX home on the final lap.
Martin just floating through these S's. Up through turn 8, 9. We said, we've talked about it, that car, when it's up on the curbs and everything, it bounces a little bit, but it is still generating lots of stick on the mechanical side in terms of setup. And the aero is working as well. And he's, that last lap, he backed off just a little bit. It's down to under 10 seconds, but it's just under 10 seconds, and that's plenty of room here. And you don't want to throw anything away at this stage.
Yeah, totally under control. So I'd have to say that the Porsche from Wright Motorsports, they had a brilliant setup today. Ian Halen's performance in the first half of this race was mega. And but when you got this car, it's just been really consistent. I think it was stronger than anyone yesterday. Not quite as strong in terms of the competition today, but nonetheless, what a performance, recognizing the opportunity and grabbing it with both hands here.
Absolutely, and this is the first full season for Martin in a Pro-Am scenario. Baptista being the pro, but Martin multiple-time Am champion, and just a really, really experienced, solid, and very quick driver. One more turn to go for a sweep here at Circuit of the Americas in the GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, for Ferrari in Hublot and Fort Lauderdale in the Concours Club and Squadra Corsa, Fuentes and Baptista. And here, another win on the season in the silver category for Trent Hinman. Shelby Blackstock brings the car across the line. The Acura Accelerated Services Racer's Edge machine. And then a good third overall finish. Fred Portad rolls into the throttle in the Hopkins Equitable Wright Motorsports Porsche. And Udell comes in. Look at that. On that last lap, Udell got, those last few laps got to within 2.2 seconds of Portad. Great run, and just a weekend where Alec Udell came in to help that Windward team. And it was a great showcase for Alec, for people here. He's been racing in Europe to get reminded of what makes him so special. And a nice job by Russell as well. And rounding out the top five, David Askew doing exactly what we talked about, the opportunity for him after a little bit of a problematic run yesterday to just put in a really smooth, quick, clean stint. And he did that to absolute perfection, and it brought them a podium in the Pro-Am class. Ziad Gondor, along with Kyle Marcelli in the number 80 MBRP Performance Exhaust Racer's Edge Acura, bringing that car home fourth in Pro-Am, 6th overall. And, you know, for Gondor, the laps dropped off a little bit at the end, but he was running some pretty decent laps as well, and he's got virtually zero time. I mean, he hadn't been in this car until the first test session started here. And I think with a little bit more experience in that car, we've seen what Ziad can do in a familiar car. I think he could be somebody to watch for.
Yeah, I think for any driver to make a switch to a different platform is difficult, even for a pro. So for an AM driver to make that transition, I think you did a wonderful job this weekend. I think the team will be pleased, and hopefully we'll see he and Kyle compete in the final rounds of the championship at Indianapolis. Yeah,
that would be absolutely great. And again, for Fuentes and Baptista, just a remarkable weekend. And just in terms of performance, I think you made the very good point that the way that Ferrari was running and the setup changes they made, I'm not sure anybody else being here was going to make a big difference in the outcome of that. I think Martin is having a little bit of a party. Saw him drive off screen there, and maybe he's got his special espresso machine in the car.
Yeah, no fans here to see it, but he wants to make downtown Austin here the celebration, I think. Good news is we are going to have fans at Indianapolis, so that's going to be tremendous.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. And that's a good point. 2 weeks' time, the season finale for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, sharing the bill with the Intercontinental GT Challenge. 8 hours, which has moved out from California. It's now the Indy 8 hours, and how perfect is that? And so lots to unfold. IndyCar will actually be running there as well. We expect between now and Indy the schedule announcement and some news to come out for 2021. And that's really, really big stuff as well. So exciting, and here we go. Our podium contenders make their way down into the Victory Circle area. And going to be some celebrating that is going to begin here on what has become an absolutely beautiful day. You can see way in the background, about center of your frame, Austin, Texas. Home of amazing music, great barbecue, and now world-class motor car racing. Circuit of the Americas, as this 10th round of the GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, has come to a close on track. And it is time for the celebrations to begin here. And we've got some celebrating to do for sure. And again, just a second straight overall win here by the Ferrari, but getting that CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race award. It is this car, the Business and Honor and the Wright Motorsports Porsche, 2 minutes 6.238 to negotiate just under 3.5 miles and 20 corners here in the hands of Jan Halen. So congratulations to that great achievement. And here you go. Look at the provisional results. You can see the class categories in there as well. So it's a good mix, Pro-Am and Silver, 3 and 2 up in that top 5. That's a really good blend.
It really is. It's a great dynamic to see how everyone positions themselves when you got that class overlap, how aggressive someone's going to be, how big picture thinking they are. I think everyone did a nice job with that today.
Absolutely. Let's not forget the GT Sports Club competitors as well. Issa and Daskalos, that great battle near the end of it got fascinating. And then Gates over Bell in the GT2 category as well. And let the celebrating commence back down to Ryan Marine and Martin Fuentes.
Yes, a happy Martin Fuentes, that's for sure. Martin, it's been nip and tuck in the points battle all season long, and you get here and you get the news that your closest competitors aren't here, and you maximize that opportunity. How important was that to get as many points as you could with your competitors, unfortunately, on the sidelines?
You know what? The most important thing for us was just to have a fast car. I mean, I know the circumstances were bad for the Mercedes team, but we were just focusing 100% on getting the car faster and faster. And Rodrigo did a great job the whole weekend. The team did a great job. I'm just impressed and thankful for every one of the guys that did a great job. And Rodrigo and I, we come to the lead of the championship again.
That's right. Congratulations on that. We'll have you step over. Rodrigo will bring you in. It's been a difficult weekend. It wasn't smooth sailing from the beginning. You had to find the balance on this race car. How much of a hard work effort was it to get the car to your liking?
Yeah, for sure. I think we started on Friday a bit lost, and the guys did a great job on the qualifying. The car was really good. On the first race was also really good like now, and it wasn't easy to drive. The car was moving a lot, but was quick, so I think the whole team, everyone did a great job, and of course Martin and the move he did and everything he did, so I'm really happy for that.
Congratulations, guys. We'll see you in Indianapolis.
There you have it. That's the moment. That's the celebration. And Martin gave great kudos to Baptista, but that qualifying lap Martin put in set the stage for this as well. There's a look there at a couple of the special views. That's that amphitheater that I was talking about. The tower is on one end of it, and those red rails come down, and then where you see them fan out at the bottom, that's covering the stage for the performance that might be there. And I love this shot because it's the exit of that very fast triple right-hander. Up in the background, you see the elevation change up into turn 1. This is a pretty cool place.
It really is. 133 feet is the climb up to turn 1, and as you make the apex, you then plunge back down the hill through those unique high-speed S's.
Here's a look at those points that we've been talking about here, and you can see the big difference. And with that sweep of the Pro-Am class, we talked about it actually before we went on air, Cal, that the fact that the 04 car had that 1-point lead coming in is what's mathematically kept them in this championship now.
Yeah, and you can't say it's over. I mean, if the Fuentes Baptista car has issues at Indy and doesn't get to 70% in either race, they'd get 0 points, but it's a hard task here. You need the perfect weekend for the CrowdStrike team to even stand a chance at that one.
Yeah, absolutely, and just some great battling and put on some great races, obviously, as we get down now to the final event of the season in a couple of weeks, and looking forward to that unfold. And you take a look once again here. This is the beautiful S's, and there's the grandstands up in turn 1. It's just so many great views here. In the silver category, racing unopposed for a lot of the season, Blackstock and Hinman have themselves a very smart point lead here. But you know, Russell Ward, he teamed up at Road America with Indy Danche. We saw some really good speed from him there. From Russell, we knew Indy would be fast, and he had also partnered earlier with Chris Wilson, who had a very strong run as well. And what we're seeing from Russell is he's very early in his silver rating, and he's got potential.
He does. He continues to improve, puts in some really impressive performances this year. And the team continues to grow as well. They're gaining experience with this championship. And curious to know what they'll do next year if they switch over to the latest evolution of the Mercedes for a little bit more pace.
And this has been obviously, you don't often get a return to a venue, certainly in road racing, to a season. But coming back here and letting drivers have another crack at this remarkable, renowned facility has been pretty special. There's a look at downtown Austin, Texas. And it is a city that is thriving, to be sure, here. And great place to be able to go at the end of a day of racing and duck in and have a little bit of fun, that's for sure. The haze over Austin, Texas, after an absolutely beautiful day of racing here. And at the end of a great day of racing, Ryan, there's always some celebrating to do.
That's right. In our silver class winners, Racers Edge Motorsports, we got Shelby Blackstock here, Trent Hidman as well. And Shelby, the car looked fast, but you were telling me you were just one session behind. It really goes back to the start of the weekend with the little issue that the team came against.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, missing that first session really hurt us. Unfortunately, we found an issue also in practice 2. So overall, I mean, I'm happy with 2 podiums for the weekend. I mean, for damage control long run, I mean, that's the best we could do. And I'm so thankful for the Racers Edge team, Acura Motorsports. They worked their tails off this weekend to get us even up here. So take the points, and looking forward to Indy.
Yep, we'll see you there for sure. We'll let you step over. Trent, if you don't mind jumping on in. I know you get the class win. I'm sure the birthday present you were looking for was the overall win. All in all, how would you assess the weekend?
Again, like Shelby said, being one session behind definitely didn't help us here on an already condensed weekend. You know, it's quite a lot different than what it was like when we were here in March. So we definitely needed a little bit more time to get everything sorted. But I need to take a little bit of ownership of the first stint there for sure. I wasn't too thrilled with the way I did. I think I pointed our Racers Edge team in just not in a great direction there with the car after race 1 yesterday. We had a good base. You know, I just kind of convinced the guys to get a little bit too aggressive on the setup stuff, and it wasn't necessarily the right move. So that's on me. I apologize to those guys. They worked too hard to have a loudmouth driver in there to toss it all up. But either way, I'm still proud to be a part of the team. Proud of Shelby and the drive that he had in the second stint there. And, you know, we're just going to get this NSX hooked up for Indianapolis now.
Sounds like a plan. Happy birthday. We'll see you in Indy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you ever wanted to look inside the character of Trent Hidman, you just got it. He is absolutely something special and also a great driver, as was Jan Halen at the start. As we take a look at some highlights, a last-second move that surprised Baptista and took him right to the front, Cal.
I think he made that move in his head last night, Greg, and made it stick today.
Late in the going in the Sports Club race, Mark Issa being closed on for the lead by Jason Daskelos, had the big tank slapper, couldn't quite save it. And then a big move here right around the outside and picking up the lead here for Fuentes after he'd climbed behind the wheel of that Ferrari.
Big move here by Shelby Blackstock down to the inside on Fred Portad. That's for 2nd overall. Has the lead in silver, then he tries to chase after Martin Fuentes.
Comes up just a little bit shy because Martin was on form this weekend. Comes out of the last corner, and that Hublot Ferrari flashes underneath the checkered flag and gets a big greeting from the crowd here as you get that nice shot there of the tower here. And here's a look at the points once again in the Pro-Am category, and with the absence of Colin Brown and George Kurtz for, you know, truly unfortunate reasons, of course. Still, Martin Fuentes and Rodrigo Baptista are now looking awfully solid going into Indy.
49-point lead, 50 points on the table. It takes a disaster for the Squadra Corsa team and a brilliant weekend for the CrowdStrike entry, but stranger things have happened in motorsport, that is for sure.
No question about it. 2 weeks' time, the Indianapolis season finale, joined in part there with the 8 hours of Indianapolis, moving from California for the Intercontinental GT Challenge. And we certainly hope you all come out and enjoy it. For Cal and Ryan, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks so much for joining us.